If this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, thanks for coming by. If you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, thanks also for coming by. Hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. Today is Friday, June 27, 2025. It is not as hot as it was earlier in the week, but it's still typical summer balmy, humid weather. And surprisingly, today has been rather flat and dead. Rigor mortis. And I'm out here today, really just trying to make the best of it. I'll put it like this. I'm out here today doing gig food delivery work, and it is not beneath me to do it. What I've often mentioned is that, at least since 2023, I've wanted to become less dependent on gig food delivery work because of the unpredictability of your stability on the apps, number one, because you're always one delivery away from being deactivated. But also, with me getting a Sprinter/cargo van, I also look to make a transition to where I would get into a space where there were more opportunities. But it doesn't always work out that way. You have days in which it's not happening on all fronts, and today is one of them. I started out today noticing there was an opportunity in a lane that I would tend to pick up. It's a lane in which I would pick up from, but oftentimes it would take me to Charlotte or Atlanta. But this time it was going to the other side of the state to Greer. And so I got in contact with the broker who normally has been arranging a lot of those, and I gave him my rate, and then he told me 200 miles, they're looking for $200. It was 205 miles, and they're looking for 200 on that. And I say, well, let me know if you find something. Let me know if you find something else today. And I was into that conversation. There was another one that was going to a lane that I normally don't do, but it was a possibility because if they came up with the right number, it would definitely add to cash flow and put me in a position of where I could say I had a really good week. Well, they offered a number that was half of what I bid on, and my response to them was, hey, look, gas is going up 50 cents, and with the holiday coming up next week, gas is likely to go up again. So basically, without telling them, I was telling them, hey, look, man, that's gas. I'm basically paying you to move your shit whatever distance, the distance wherever it was. So I put this as a title as a day in the life of a delivery and transport driver. Know what you're talking about. But I'm going to talk about some other stuff as well. But I'm talking about this first because this one is kind of near and dear to me. With my coming from a media background, it was incumbent upon me to make every effort to posit accurate information. Accuracy is among the 10 commandments of reporting, if there was one. Accurate information. Check, double check, triple check, quadruple check your information. Make sure the shit is accurate. The reporter in me kicked in. So when I saw what I saw, the reporter kicked in on me. I apologize. I'm using two phone sources now for video, but someone just happened to call me and I couldn't answer it because I'm doing this. Well, anyway, he said that you don't need a US DOT number to do delivery and transport, or MC number, and that US DOT numbers was for an interstate commerce. And when he said that, I'm like, wrong. So I wrote a reply, and I said, wrong. A US DOT number is used for when you're transporting goods and items across within state lines or interstate. It is also a unique identifier for a carrier. I also then responded that an MC number is if you will, your authority, in which you have, if you intend to transport goods and items across state lines for pay, as like with USDOT, when you intend to transport goods and items within state lines for pay, you need a USDOT number. When you do that for MC number, it's across state lines for pay. And then I went on to say, I dare you to try to book a load with a broker without a USDOT or MC number. I dare you. And that's just for starters. So, I'm saying this too as a fellow content creator. A lot of folk put a lot of shit out there, a lot of questionable stuff, but people, because of what they see, you know, they love to be courted by bullshit, okay? They love to be courted by false information. They don't care for the truth. They really don't. And it's very disheartening, but at the same time, we all grown folk. We ought to take responsibility for what we do. If I've posted something wrong, I've acknowledged it. I've acknowledged it either in the comments, or I've come out and said, hey, I was wrong with this. But I try to make every effort at putting whatever I'm talking about. I've done my homework to put it out there, and I will say it like this: you can search my body of work. Check out the archive. Check out the archive, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Yes, there are people who say that I've zapped their fucking comments because I didn't agree with what they had to say. But then again, consider the source. Maybe it was some shit that they said that I wasn't gonna put up with either. Okay? It wasn't always a challenge of what I knew. What it got to was that it got personal. The shit got personal, and then I zapped their shit. I blocked them. First I zapped it one time, but then I blocked the shit if I saw it again.
Everybody wanna be right on the internet, but I'm here to let you know I was wrong. So earlier today, I posted a video about the MC and the DOT number, whether it was required or not. And my guy, Geezer right here, jumped on YouTube and told me how wrong I was. He 100% right. And I could have easily just deleted the video. But nah, this is what it's about, bro. It's about accountability, and it's about rewriting your wrongs. So let me go ahead and add some color to this. So currently today, according to the FMCSA website, which is also the same website you will go to apply for your DOT, which is free, by the way, there are 9 states that do not require you to have a DOT number when you're operating within state lines, aka locally, aka intrastate. The other 41 states do require you to have a DOT number if you're operating for hire in those states. Now, I want to say this for the cargo van owner operators right now that do not have a DOT, that's been doing this for some time and that's never worried about getting a DOT. The DOT number has not stopped you from getting money locally. As you already know, most companies only want you to meet the insurance requirements. For example, when I had my contract with Big Lots, I had to sign a vendor agreement. So I had to go through corporate to land that contract and land that opportunity. Nowhere on the contract did they ask for a DOT number. Also, when you go sign up for these medical courier companies, when you go sign up for these companies that's in your city, if you sign up for, let's say, 25 companies that's local, 22 of them may only want you to provide proof of insurance and make sure it meets their requirements. There may be 2 or 3 that's going to ask you for your DOT number, but 9 times out of 10, they also have interstate commerce. So they're not just local deliveries, pick up and drop off. They may also be going across state lines, so they just ask you for your DOT number / MC number. There are also a couple of apps that will ask for your DOT number, but out of, let's say, 10 to 15 apps, you may get 2 apps that ask you for your DOT number, one of them being Warp, and that's because they have loads that cross state lines as well. As far as me, when I first got my cargo van, I got my MC number and I got my DOT number because I wasn't sure if I was going to be going over the road or not. But when I seen what it did to my insurance rate, I was like, nah, hell nah. So I went ahead and forfeited my MC number, and if you look me up, my DOT number is actually still active. So thank you, bro, for chin checking me one time because, hey, nobody is above reproach and nobody is above correction.
So the second half to this, I noticed in the Facebook group, I happen to go back to the same Facebook group, and a guy posted that he's getting out of the delivery and transport space and he's looking to sell his Sprinter / cargo van. Some would say, another one bite the fucking dust. Better him than me. Sounds like tough shit to me, right? Well, I'm gonna say this. In fact, I just missed my fucking turn. Now I got to go down to the other exit and come back up. That's what I get for talking and not paying attention to what I'm doing. There were some comments. There were other comments made, but the thought that came to me more than anything else is that it could have been me making that announcement on this channel. It could have been me. In fact, September of last year, I was on the mat. The referee had his hand down. His hand was motioning downward to go to 3. I was on the mat, hand motioning downward, about to touch the mat for 3. That's how close I was to being out of business. And I don't take lightly that I'm still in this game, none whatsoever. So that was my immediate reaction. It was no reaction, but then again, the reaction was that I thought about how close I was less than a year ago of being out of business. And it didn't fucking matter that I was still making money. It's just that the money I was making was still not enough for what I needed to cover. And that happens. Simple business is that you want to bring in more than what's going out. And when you're putting out more than what's going in, you've got to make some decisions, especially over a sustained period of time. Because you can have money put back, but that runs out. Okay, you may think of leveraging to buy yourself time, but then you got to pay it back. You can leverage by credit card or loans and all that stuff, but at some point you got to pay it back, and you're also adding on to your outlays already. So you're trying to give yourself a lifeline, hoping that you could double up to put yourself in a position to where you can stay in the game and make things happen. Does life always go that way? Sometimes. But most times, it's like the weight gets heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. So why is it that the guy did not just explain or divulge why and what led to his decision of getting out? But it's probably safe to say that very little was coming in, but a lot was still going out. He probably had a van payment, obviously did commercial insurance. He has bills to pay at home. The very things that I've kind of talked about in the past. These are the things that you're supposed to take into consideration when you're out here. And so, let's say, and this is a possibility, I don't know. Let's say he's been one who's been taking thirst loads, been doing thirst freight, cheap freight. Yes, it gave him the sense of, okay, I've got some money that I got coming in, but maybe I could get something better. But he keeps taking the thirst shit. He keeps taking the cheap freight. The shit catches up with you over time. Just know it catches up with you over time because you're operating at such a very thin margin. Whenever you're hit with when you hit with a significant outlay, you don't have nothing to pad that margin. Okay? So that's why you need to take into consideration a lot of things. When you bid on things, you need to bid with your true business in mind. You can't go around justifying taking shit for 75 cents a mile and saying, well, yeah, well, only my cost per mile is 50 cents a mile. Well, that 50 cents a mile may not actually be 50 cents a mile. That cost per mile may be more like 75, 80 cents a mile, and you're doing it at a fucking loss, meaning that you're paying them to move their shit. That's what I'm getting at. So, some people suggest, had you considered doing medical courier stuff? And the guy said, yeah, I considered it, but it's not moving the needle. And where I'm at, there are very few opportunities. But most folk are saying, well, that's just one less person now. But then again, other people are saying, this is a reality that a lot of people are facing. The business has been killed by people who've done cheap freight, and they've driven down the market so bad that it's not been sustainable for everyone. And that's true. For me, it's the reality of for me, it's the reality of news like that. It really causes me to think twice. It causes me to think about, what am I doing? Am I doing the things that are going to keep me in business? The goal, when your mindset when you're in business is, what do you do to keep going on the next day, the next week, the next month, and into the next year? If I were to divulge you the numbers that I've earned so far this month, or this week for that matter, you probably want to rob me. You probably want to take my wallet, take whatever money's in my pocket, try to clean out my bank account, take my vehicles, my equipment, and say, hell, I'd gladly take on or do what you're doing right now. But you know what? That really means nothing. And I'm saying that with utter sincerity. It really means nothing. Because if I don't manage this business right, I could be the next story. Alrighty, so where I'm at is a construction site drop-off, in which I just took care of a local delivery opportunity. It's a construction site of an apartment complex, and it's on the east side of Richland County of my market. I had to call someone upon location to find out where to go. Gonna find out it was all the way on the other side of these structures that are being put up. And then as you look here, as I'm driving by, to your left of this screen, actually you may catch a picture of it, you may not though, but to my immediate left as I'm driving out is where everything, in fact I'll do it like this real quickly. Right in front of that kiosk is all those boxes that I had to unload by hand. While it was put on by forklift, it was unloaded by hand. And so I got it paid accordingly for unloading items by hand. So now I am heading I'm heading off to a nearby last mile delivery pickup. And that's going to be my fourth of the day. And an ugly, some would say ugly, some would say, hey, it's still good, man. You know, shit, you're doing 2 bills today. Well, I guess you could say that, but I certainly had no aspirations of having to use this way. But what it says is that the money's going to come one way or another. The money's not always going to come the way you draw it up on the chalkboard. There's going to be days where you look real cool and cute, and then there are other days you're going to be sweaty and catching your breath and making sure that you're hydrated. And that's what's happening right now with the old guy. Perhaps the motivation is to show you the old guy does work. The motivation is that the old guy will get sweaty. The old guy will get dirty. I'm showing again as I'm driving out of this construction project. It is my best deduction that this overall property was once farmland. In fact, farmland. And then it was just trees, and then portions of the land had been sold off and then zoned for projects. There's been a subdivision put in, there's been stores, there's been retail put in, and now this is yet another piece of the puzzle. It's actually addressing the growing housing needs in this market, as businesses are actually coming to this section of the state. It's actually 30 years overdue, but that's yet another story. So what I'm going to do is resume the conversation at the pickup location of this other last mile delivery opportunity. Okay, I think I'm done for today. I mean, what you just saw there is the old guy traversing 3 flights of stairs, carrying 55 pounds bookshelf package, and then traversing back down, and that put me over $200 for today. And it is showing right now fucking 99 degrees, but it's probably more like about 95. I'll give it 95. But what's interesting about what's significant about this delivery is not so much as the delivery itself. It was actually, as soon as I backed up, a guy came over to me and said, hey man, I've been still checking you out. A guy named Brian. I met Brian a couple of years ago. He and along with another guy who operates out of a sprinter/cargo van, and we talked it up at, ironically, it was at another retail store parking lot, and they're still doing it, just like I am. Of course, I told them if you've kept up, you noticed that I also added a box truck, and just my telling him that is just to let him know that, hey, I'm still in it, but I've managed to be in a position to scale, and I'm not just doing the same thing as I did 2+ years ago. What is significant about talking to those guys is not so much as that point, but they were the guys who gave me the visual and mental blueprint for how I should go about putting in an E-Track system in this van, and then ultimately in the box truck. And then I showed him how I actually did it. So he took some pictures and everything, and now it may inspire him to do the same thing with his van. So what's important is you don't know everything. You'll never know everything. And there's always room to learn something. And I'll go as far as to say, an old dog like me, an old motherfucker like me, still has the capacity, and should always have the capacity, to learn a new trick. So that was significant. And as for today, I mean, shit, it's not a pretty day. It's not a pretty day. But it also suggests how not every day is gonna be a banger day. Not every day is gonna be one of those days where you take a victory lap saying how you earned $800 today, $700 today, $400 a day. I mean, the difference between yesterday and today for me is about $900. I've earned so far $207.50 today. Yesterday, June 26, 2025, I earned over $1,100. So that should tell you something. But if anything, it tells you that, hey, if you're serious about doing business, you're gonna find ways of making money. Even when days are slow, even when days are fucking rigor mortis, you don't panic. And that's something that you have to learn to do, is don't panic. Now, you still may make rush decisions, but you may make fewer rush decisions, particularly when you have confidence in having given yourself options, multiple options, not 1 or 2 options. You're not this one trick person, but you've given yourself multiple options for the potential of earning money each day. So right now it's about 3 o'clock. It's just after 3 o'clock. 4 hours ago at 11 o'clock, man, I was at 0 and not hitting on any cylinders. So that's why I'm always talking about giving yourself options. What do you do? If your main option ain't working, what do you do? You're always asking yourself, what can I do? How can I do it? Yeah, that's what a business person is doing. A business person is always thinking of those things. Hustler, the mindset is, shit, I gotta make some money, man. God damn, I gotta make some money. Fuck, how do I do it? How do I do it? When am I gonna do it? All I know, I gotta make some money. Shit. That's the mindset of a hustler. But a business person is, how can I put myself in a position? Where do I put myself in a position? And then hopefully the decisions you make pay off on days like this. So that's all I have to share for this segment of the Gig Geezer. Hopefully you got something out of it. Hey, if you don't like it, if you don't like the content that's been provided, hey, give it a thumbs down. But if you like the content that's been provided in this segment or any other segment, give it a thumbs up. Share my content among others, and I definitely welcome comments in the section below. I'm Inwood Lane. As always, may your grind and may your business continue.